you're listening now, so we might as well tell you the story. We'll tell you the story.
He was not at all an important person.
A life lived wholly in the shade.
Just a lowly government office clerk of the 9th grade.
A perpetual titular councillor.
A perpetual titular councillor.
A status about which some tease and make merry and crack their jokes.
Did you hear the one about the perpetual titular councillor?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
A perpetual titular councillor.
How many perpetual titular councillors does it take to trim a lantern?
Obeying the praiseworthy custom of attacking those too weak to ever fight back.
He was far from blessed with an attractive appearance.
His forehead and cheeks deeply furrowed and lined.
Shortish,
But
his grey hair thinning.
With skin the complexion you typically find in those unfortunates who suffer from piles.
family name was Bashmatchkin. Derived from Bashmak, meaning shoe.
Not boot or clog, galosh or muckluck, but simple, humble shoe. Shoe.
And his baptismal name was
Quite odd, some might venture.
Rather singular, maybe even far-fetched.
But no, he assured it was not so.
The circumstances did so arrange that to give him a name less perversely strange would alas have been a thing quite impossible.
So how then did it come about?
Oh, well, you see, it happened like this. Akaki Akakeyevich was born on the night of the 22nd of March. His mother was a very good woman and the wife of an official. She had made all the necessary arrangements for the baby's christening, and at the appointed hour, the godparents arrived. She was still confined to her bed, and at her right stood Ivan Ivanovich Doroshkin,
Chief Registrar of the Senate.
and at her left,
Irina Semenova, the wife of a police inspector.
and a woman of rare virtues. After some consideration, 3 names were suggested.
Mokia.
Sosia.
Kozdorat.
No.
No. I'm sorry, but no.
No.
Makia is quite dreadful. Cecilia I can't bear, and the martyr's name Kostashat would drive me to despair. To blight a babe with such a name would simply be decidedly unfair. So let's quickly check the calendar and hope to find me something better there.
Such an ugly baby, but what to name him? Something religious maybe, nothing to shame him.
So, in order to please her, the church calendar was opened and 3 further names were found.
Trifili.
Dula.
Varakasi.
must be something better, something far less likely to interest us in. So let's quickly go and page by page investigate the calendar again.
Such a blotchy baby, but what to call him? Something distinguished maybe, so no misfortune prematurely might befall him.
So, once again, perhaps with some slight irritation, they turn to the church calendar.
Pavzikaki.
Vakitisi.
Perhaps a khaki might just work, although more likely it would grate. And as for Vakitisi, it's a name I simply hate. This has to be a judgment, yes, I see now that this surely must be fate. Yes, his father was a khaki, so a khaki he will be. Oh yes, a khaki, I fixed that little no debate.
Wait, I've got it. It's absolutely perfect. You really ought to call the baby.
Too late! And though there was some relief at a name having been finally chosen, it would be fair to say that not all were wholly satisfied by the choice. When they christened the child, it cried, "Wah, wah." It not only whimpered, it howled, "Wah, wah."
And twisted its features and scowled as if there in that moment it knew somehow it was destined to be.
Perpetual titular councillor. Perpetual titular councillor.
So that's how it happened. The case is clear cut. The child could never have been named anything but
The department.
no one knows when he entered the department. Directors and all manner of government officials came and went, but he was always to be found in the same spot there, in the same position, in the very same posture, sitting at his desk, therefore bent, copying, copying, copying.
For increased comfort and durability, the standard issue 7-button shirt, currently worn by all government employees of the 7th, 8th and 9th grades, will now be replaced by a newly designed 8-button shirt.
He especially enjoyed the hyphens. Not the slightest respect was shown him in the department. The porter not only did not rise when he passed, but barely even glanced up at him, any more than if a fly had flown through the reception room. His superiors treated him in a coldly despotic manner, often giving him documents to copy without even so much as saying, "Here's a nice little interesting job for you," or
This one's important, I know I can rely on you.
rarely did they even manage so much as a
Here, copy this.
Copy this.
Copy this!
no were just thrust under his face, barely slackening their pace as they quickly paced past and hurried on to something more important. But without so much as looking up, barely missing a beat, with a steady hand, precise and neat, a khaki would start copying.
Please note the following minor clarification. The 8-button shirt refers solely to the number of buttons down the front of the shirt, rather than constituting the total number of buttons on the shirt, as it does not include the 2 buttons located on the cuff.
PLEASEFOLLOWINGCATION semicolon THE open quotes EIGHT hyphen BUTTONEDSHIRT closed quotes REFERS SOLELY
The young clerks made him the butt of their ridicule and their elegant wit. Though their capacity for wit was minuscule, still they would tease him, poke fun at him, make stories up about him, narrating them in front of him whenever they saw fit.
Look at him sat there, does he need dusting?
The thought of him and his 80-year-old landlady cuddling and noodling and kissing is disgusting. Does she need you?
I mistreat you.
Harass you.
So when's the old shrew going to marry you?
It's snowing.
It's snowing. It's snowing.
Ha 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 ha. What a jape. Ha 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 ha. What an oddly queer and curious blow. Is our khaki a khaki of it? Ha 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 ha.
When he sat copying
Unrelentingly tormented him, a khaki would sit copying impervious until reached up his elbow and prevented him attending to his wife.
only then would he object.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Why do you torment me? Let me be. Let me be. I beg you, please, leave me alone.
One day it happened that a recently appointed young clerk, prompted by the example of the others, was playing him some trick when she was suddenly arrested by the same mournful cry. The boarding clerk's plea, augmented by further imagined words of accusation, and for many years to come, often in her gayest moments, she would once again find herself overcome with the knowledge of how little humane feeling truly exists, and would shudder at the thought of the cruelty residing deep in the hearts of all men. even those commonly regarded as good and honourable. Sat down at once to supper. Cabbage soup and a slice of beef with garlic, never noticing the taste, and gulped down everything, along with flies and whatever else the Lord had happened to send at that moment. Once his hunger was satisfied, he set himself to write, and began to copy the official documents he brought home with him that day. If he had no official documents to copy, he would take personal copies for his own simple gratification.
Please note a further minor clarification. The two buttons located in the cuff, referenced in the previous minor clarification, refers to a single button on the left and right cuff, rather than the double-buttoned cuff shirt, which is only permitted to be worn by those government officials of the 5th and 6th grades. The St. Petersburg climate. Oh.
Now here's a little fact that you may have been told. When it's winter time, it's very, very cold. In St. Petersburg, St. Petersburg, St. Petersburg. And the enemy are ball as they hurry back and forth. It's a biting wind straight from the icy north. On the streets of St. Petersburg. It's cold, cold, very, very cold.
It's Siberian, it's silly.
More than a little chilly. And it persecutes the poor and cruelly punishes the old.
Because it's very, very, very cold. Oh, yes, it's very, very, very cold.
Your ears are all up frozen, but your face is wet.
Toes and fingers numb.
In St. Petersburg, St. Petersburg, St. Petersburg.
Sometimes you see a poorly tied up clock when it's snoring out before he starts to work.
At a desk in St. Petersburg. It's cold, cold, very, very cold.
Yes, it's positively arctic.
And not to talk of thought in the shiverings involuntary and cannot be controlled.
Because it's very, very, very cold. Yes, it's very, very, very God, it's really it's cold, cold, very, very cold.
But it's warmer for the knowledge there was vodka in our porridge.
God knows why Peter the Great made this city his stronghold.
It's a very, very, very cold. Yes, it's very, very, very cold. Yes, it's very, very, very cold. It's cold, cold, really bloody cold.
Tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la. to and from the office, the cold was beginning to attack his neck, back, and shoulders with ever-increasing boldness. One evening he decided to examine his overcoat, suspecting it might well be the cause of his twice-daily discomfort.
Here's a thin patch, almost threadbare. Here's another badly worn. Isn't there a good patch somewhere? Here a hole, there a hole, the stitching frayed, the lining torn.
It should also be mentioned that for some time now, his overcoat had been the object of much derision and ridicule within the department.
A khaki Akakevich goes about town not in an overcoat for the dressing gown.
Yes, he looks less like a clerk and far more like a filthy down and down.
The coat was of quite particular appearance. The collar grew smaller and smaller as each year it had served to patch up other areas, and as the patching did not exhibit great skill, the result was a baggy and ugly-looking garment. Having identified the coat as the source of his problem, Akaki decided to pay a visit to Grigory Petrovich, a tailor who lived and worked up no less than 4 flights of some dingy backstreet stairwell. While it isn't necessary to waste too many words on the tailor, it would be remiss of us to say nothing by way of description, and so I present Grigory Petrovich.
Of course, a cotton thread is cheaper and easier to work with. But as any reputable tailor knows, if you want the stitching to hold, always use silk.
Grigory was a simple serf until he was emancipated. High festivals he used to spend, increasingly intoxicated. As time went by, days high and low were indiscriminately celebrated.
And I suppose at the risk of establishing a convention, that something also ought to be said about his wife.
Of course, it is quicker and easier to skin a rabbit with a sharp knife, but an experienced cook prefers to use only her hands. How else do you truly determine the meat's freshness?
He often quarreled with his wife and said she lacked sophistication. A flaw he would attribute to her father's German derivation. Her face far from her pretty face did not encourage close examination.
The stairs leading up to Petrovich's apartment were soaked with discarded dishwater, and, as one often seems to find in such St. Petersburg houses, there was a strong smell of ammonia which afflicted Akaki's eyes and the back of his throat.
If
If he could patch it up, what price could I afford to pay? 2 rubles, maybe 3, I might have put away. But if he asked for more than that, I might be forced to say, no, I cannot pay more. I can stretch to 3, not as much as 4. Then I'll head straight for the door, and he'll say, wait, I'll do it for 3. Now come and share a drink with me.
Akaki found that the door was open as Miss Petrovich, in cooking some fish, had raised such a smoke in the kitchen that not even the cockroaches were visible.
This pan is useless. Nothing but cheap Polish tin. Any more holes and I could use it as a colander.
He passed through the kitchen unnoticed to eventually arrive at a room where he observed the tailor sitting at a large unpainted table. A skein of silken thread hung upon his neck, and on his knees some old garment.
It won't go through. It won't go through, the barbarian.
This isn't a good time, he's clearly not in a good mood.
You pricked me, you rascal.
I find him more amenable when he's half stewed. If I try to negotiate today, I might be screwed.
You'll be the death of me, you devil.
No, I'll have to come back.
No,
try another day when the mood is less black, and maybe try a different black. Yes, please, can't you do it for me? Not 2, not 4, let's go.
Kakiakakayevich. Does my good eye deceive me?
Good day, Petrovich.
A good morning to you, sir. Are you going to tell me perhaps why it is you were here?
Oh, yes. Well, it's like this. My coat, the material. Look, you can see everywhere else is still quite strong.
Let me see.
Well, don't you think? Not new, but good quality. Look, just one patch, maybe another over here. A little dusty, slightly shabby, here in the shoulder, there in the back, but hardly worth discussing, nearly didn't bother. Little more than 20 minutes work.
No, it isn't possible to mend. It is quite a wretched garment.
What? But why not? A patch, just a scrap of cloth, yes?
But how to sew them all? The whole thing is rotten.
Still, you could try good thread. That would make it hold, yes?
Believe me, it would fall apart as soon as you so much as even touched it with a needle.
Listen, Grigori, if you could only a little longer, I'm sure it's possible.
No, it's no use. You'll have to buy a new one.
A new one?
A new one.
This coat would garner praise, and folks would want to shake you by the hand and say, this coat you wear, this thing of beauty, I declare, far more deserving of appreciation
creation than the many works of art that hung upon the walls of the Tsar's palaces. A khaki seed that cuts the line, the stitching, breathtaking, life-enriching, becoming, beguiling, bewitching, perfect, perfect. This shield against all walls outdoors could be yours.
A new coat surely would be fine. A new coat surely would be grand. A new coat surely would be perfect, so perfect.
A robe to thrill, a gown to hearten, maybe for the collar, why not treat yourself to mutton? Though if you're apprehensive, cat fur is far less expensive. How much would the coat cost? An inconsequential sum, given the satisfaction it will surely bring you. But how much would the coat cost? As a friend, be sure that it's the very lowest price that I am offering you. Gregory, please, tell me how much. Tell me how much. How much? How much? Well, there's the material, the lining, fur for the collar, the buttons, oh, and of course, my labor. It wouldn't be possible to do it for any less than 150 rubles. What?
150 rubles! 150 rubles!
I couldn't.
150 rubles! 150 rubles!
150 rubles.
150 rubles! 150 rubles! 150 rubles! 150 rubles!
The khaki emerged out onto the street, dazed as if in a trance.
Oh, what did you do? What a terrible
Instead of
business.
heading directly
I
home,
never thought it
he
would come
wandered
to-
about with no sense of
Then
where
we
he was
don't like-
going.
Oh.
On his way to nowhere in
Sorry.
particular,
Did I mean-
he collided with a chimney sweep's brush that showered him in a thick cloud of black soot. And then an entire bucket of lime fell upon him from on top of a house that was under construction. But Akaki continued on quite unawares until...
Oi! Careful there. Can't you walk on the pavement properly?
Abruptly awakened from his torpid state, Akaki began to collect his thoughts and properly assess his predicament.
No, 150 rubles is too much. I'll have to again inquire about the price. But Mrs. Petrovich, she is a one. Grigori, he could be persuaded easily enough. A drink or two, perhaps, on a Sunday morning. Yes, the price would soon come down. Yes, I really think it might. Then his wife.
What? What price did you agree to? Are you crazy? Are you mad? Or do you want us not to eat? You'll be sorry, you'll be sad when we are both out on the street. No, you'll have to charge him more. Yes, the price is far too low. It's daylight robbery, effectively. He's charging you to sew. Charge him another 20 and then another 10. And if he starts to grumble, say we'll raise the price again. Well, what are you waiting for? Grigori, go and tell him then. Men!
180 rubles! 180 rubles! 180 rubles!
Surely be an end to it.
180 rubles!
But it just so happened that Akaki found Mrs. Petrovich in unusually high spirits. That same morning, she had worn her new hat to church, and everyone had commented on how very much they liked it.
What? What is this price that you have demanded? Are you crazy? Are you mad? You think your work is worth so much? Do your fingers stitch and sew, or is there healing in their touch? No, you'll have to charge him less. Yes, the price is far too high. Would you lose the sale and see our coatless friend a khaki die? Lower the price by 20, and then another 10. And if you start to argue, see, we'll cut the price again. Well, what are you waiting for before we go and tell him then? Man!
120 rubles. 120 rubles.
Tell us a deal better.
120 rubles.
Still far more than I have.
120 rubles.
Certainly have something put aside. A few rubles, perhaps. No doubt mere chicken feed in terms of overcoat finance, but still, something. Now, let me see. Yes, 1, 2, 3.
And Khaki was a prudent man, so this is what he did. He had a little wooden box with a slot cut into the lid. And every time he spent a ruble, some small coin inside it would be hid. And every 6 months he would take the coppers, changing them for silver, stored inside a leather pouch he kept under his bed. Then after many years this purse with precious rubles often had been fed. Security against whatever unforeseen calamity might lie ahead. For any situation which for lack of funds might imminently leave him dead. Or he could use the funds to help him buy a coat instead.
38, 39, 40. My, 40 rubles. Quite a sum.
Now only 80 rubles. Now only 80 rubles. Now only 80 rubles. Now only just 80 rubles.
At least once a month, the Khaki would visit Petrovich to see how his new overcoat was progressing, and to give answer to such important questions as what material to buy, where was the best place to buy the material from, and how much to pay for it. Each visit gave rise to new discussions, but Akaki always left feeling contented and expectant of the day when his new overcoat would be finished and paid for in full. A day that was fortuitously hastened by an act of generosity on the part of the director responsible for determining Akaki's holiday bonus. Why he chose to give such an unprecedented sum, and in the very year when Akaki needed it most, well, it would be pure conjecture to say, but perhaps it was in recognition of his many years' faithful service.
There is no man like Akaki, hard-working and loyal like Akaki. He is always on time and he works till late, and for hour after hour he will concentrate, and he never wastes time engaged in frivolous larks with the other younger, less diligent clerks. An improper practice I absolutely hate, and his copying is never less than first rate. Such a man must be rewarded with the highest bonus ever afforded.
Let's give him 30 rubles. Let's give him 30 rubles. Or maybe even 35.
Or perhaps he had some premonition of Akaki's particularly pressing circumstance.
Such a poor man is Akaki, a wretched existence for Akaki. He's so terribly thin and his hair's unkempt, his appearance so disheveled it provokes contempt. Could a man such as this have ambitions and goals for an overcoat free from patches and holes? Could I help this man? and a gesture that could be considered extreme. Such a man must be supported with the highest bonus ever afforded.
Was within 40 rubles, yes, or even 45.
Or would it be too far-fetched to suggest that the director experienced something of a spiritual epiphany?
I must
Say the khaki.
I must
Say the khaki. Such extravagance is in your gift, so I must harness it to give him a much needed lift. We must help the poor along the way, and all must give account on the judgment day. I must save the khaki. I must save the khaki. Not 30, not 40, not 50 or 60, but 65.
Of course, most likely it was the result of some backroom clerk's administrative blunder. But, whatever the cause, a khaki was now tantalisingly close to achieving his goal. And yet, still further savings were needed. He had to train himself to go without food at all in the evenings. In order to acquire his remaining 15 rubles. And not waste wax by burning candles at night. And if there was copying to be done, as so very often there was, it would mean going to his landlady's room and working by the light of her candle. And still further savings were needed. When walking in the streets, a khaki would step as lightly as possible, almost tiptoeing over paving stones and cobbles, so as not to wear down his heels in too short a space of time. And he gave out his personal laundry as seldom as possible, so that his undergarments not get too quickly soiled. He took up the habit of undressing as soon as he got home.
A new coat surely would be fine. A new coat surely would be grand. A new coat surely would be perfect.
At first, it must be admitted that a khaki found these deprivations somewhat trying, but after a while he became accustomed to them. He even trained himself to go without food at all in the evenings. For his nourishment was spiritual, his thoughts always fixed on the overcoat soon to be his, and his life became somehow richer, as if some pleasant friend had consented to travel along life's journey with him. That friend being none other than the overcoat. Then, one fine day when the St. Petersburg sun was shining unusually bright, a khaki happened to see something glinting on the pavement.
Is that a coin? Is that a silver ruble? Is fortune smiling on me? Is that a bright shiny ruble? Who could believe it? What's the chance of this most poetic circumstance? I feel so very fleet of foot that I could almost dance for joy.
But sadly, it wasn't a ruble, or even a 50 kopeck piece. Just a cheap, nickel-plated button. But Akaki was far from despondent. In fact, he became more lively. His character grew firmer.
90 kopecks.
Bold and daring ideas began to flit through his mind. Why not have Martin fur on the collar? And at the very thought, Akaki became almost dizzy with excitement. Until, after only another 2 weeks of deprivation and mild starvation, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The new overcoat arrives.
It is difficult to be precise as to exactly which day it was, but it was without doubt the most triumphant day of Akaki Akakeyevich's life, when early one morning Petrovich himself at last delivered the coat. There couldn't have been a more timely moment for the coat to arrive, as a cold spell had recently set in, and every day the weather threatened to become even more severe. Akaki had never beheld such a solemn expression upon the tailor's face. He understood that he had performed an important, almost sacred act, and in doing so, he had opened up a gulf between those tailors who merely repair and patch, and those tailors who create. Petrovich took the overcoat in both hands. He raised it up slowly, before placing it around the shoulders of Akaki Akakeyevich. Petrovich gave it a sharp tug, smoothed it down at the back, and then stepped back and beheld his handiwork and the striking figure of the newly promoted perpetual titular councillor. Akaki, though not being a young man, was eager to try out the suit. The tailor helped him to pull his arms through, and it was plainly evident that in all regards the coat fitted perfectly. Akaki thanked Petrovich, paid him in full, shook his hand, and then started for the office wearing the new overcoat. Petrovich followed behind him by a few paces, before pausing in the street in order to observe the overcoat slowly disappearing into the distance. Meanwhile, Akaki walked on, bubbling with good spirits and luxuriously warm. More than once he let out a chuckle of sheer delight. He saw nothing of the road and was suddenly standing in front of the office building. No one knows how I got around the office. The lobby bustled with both older class and younger class, eager to see that at last their dressing gown had been replaced with a brand new overcoat not lacking in taste, with all its wearer from neck to waist to knees.
Please, please, won't you let me see? Please, please, show your coat to me. No doubt it's as warm as 23, as threadbare and thin as the other one.
Congratulations on a very sound investment.
The coat would be considered smart by anyone's assessment.
It must be warm, it must be snug.
A comfortingly textile hug.
The collar's thicker than the thickest bearskin rug.
It surely must be Martin!
Cat fur.
Cat fur! Cat fur! One can never tell that it's only cat fur!
His coated cat throughout all of Christendom.
Oh my,
Cut.
oh my, oh my!
What am I?
Materials all neat.
My oh my.
Less than Kathy and
It's
Akakeyevich.
perfect, it's perfect, it's perfect.
Handsomely dressed. I'm amazed.
It's
much.
Let me touch its furry splendor.
Oh, please, your attention's kind, but I couldn't forgive myself if, even only by a minute, I was tardy. Such laxness would be both disrespectful and foolhardy.
There are days for working, and there are days for wearing,
And it's usually a Thursday.
and this day was surely meant to be one that celebrates this moment with due gravity. Was it not these words that no less than Pushkin wrote? Man is truly blessed when he wears a decent overcoat.
Everyone agreed that it almost certainly was, although no one was quite sure of where the exact reference might be found.
You must roll a party.
What?
Yes,
You must Yes, with commission pickled cabbage.
Such a wonderful tradition.
It would be remiss of us not to celebrate.
No, I can't. I can't. I haven't the food and I haven't the drink. The candles, the crockery, the cutlery, the furniture. And I worried that my landlady might be somewhat distressed. Besides, I misled you. It isn't a new coat. It's simply the old one, patched up and pressed.
At length the clock, no less a clock than assistant to the head clock, no doubt in an attempt to show that he was not unduly inflated by his rank and did not disdain social intercourse with his subordinates, stood up and said,
Gentlemen, this day it so happens is my birthday.
So many happy returns.
Good for you.
So instead of a khakis house, come to mine.
He really is a jolly good fellow.
There'll be food and cigars freely flowing, wine will celebrate together. Come a little often night.
It would be remiss of us not to celebrate.
No, I can't. I can't. The hour too late and the distance too far. Street lamps inadequate, the streets unknown. But don't think me ungrateful for the kindness shown. I'm sorry, but I must decline your invitation.
A khaki, my dear chap. You really are a one.
What a jest.
What a joke.
What an oddly queer and curious blow. But we all are fond of a dear khaki,
it's a chance to glory, a chance to claim,
And to glide about town snug and warm in your brand new overcoat.
So you must come to the party.
The party and afterwards. Who wants another drink?
me!
Me!
Me.
Drink in St. Petersburg.
I really love you.
We trot, trot.
red-headed medieval monk.
Which is very, very, very drunk. Yes, it's very, very, very.
Tra-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la.
Tra-la-la, tra-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la.
Hello. It is not possible to say precisely which district the assistant to the head clerk lived, but suffice to say that it was one of the very finest districts in all of St. Petersburg, and therefore, somewhat inconveniently, was miles and miles away from where Akaky Akakevich lived. The first few miles of his journey took him through a rather dingy muddle of back streets.
Is it this way? Maybe this way. Missing signs, lamps set too low. All the streets all but deserted. What was I thinking? Such a fool to ever say I'd go.
After some time, the streets became a good deal livelier. It had been many years since Akaky Akakevich had ventured out after dark, and he was quite mesmerized by the colourful scene unfolding all around him.
This is better, so much better. The shop windows brightly lit. Look, a painting, quite a scene. A pretty girl unties her shoe, revealing her entire leg. A long and slender leg, it's true. A thickly whiskered gentleman behind her, taking in the view.
I say. Akaky chuckled and smiled to himself. Maybe because he had never seen such a thing in his whole entire life, or perhaps because he was thinking to himself, as all clerks might. Those Frenchmen. If they want something, and by something I mean something. Well, really.
Nearly 9 in crowded streets, I never would have ever dreamt of it. Snug and warm despite the cold, this overcoat I am most glad of it. Is it here, a few steps more, exactly as described? I think this must be it. Yes, this must be it.
Feeling rather important, he rapped confidently upon the large brass knocker.
Well, old Nikolai's place isn't too shabby, is it? At least if you don't mind green.
Yes, my wife is really rather tiresome. Fortunately, my mistress more than makes up for it.
These days, unless I first enjoy a large measure of vodka, I find I have no appetite for breakfast.
Having a mother-in-law is the most ghastly thing, and it really ought to be made illegal.
In my opinion, a man who gambles away half his income isn't gambling nearly enough.
If a good-for-nothing son is a curse, then why am I cursed 4 times over?
I'd sooner have the country run by a sack of potatoes than elect any sort of parliament.
A dog is usually better company than a relative, and when a dog gets sick, you can simply shoot it.
A good pipe is like a good woman. I'm just not exactly sure how.
Why? It's Akaky Akakevich!
So let's see the coat.
Yes, let's see the coat.
Let me see the coat.
Let me see the coat.
I can't get close enough to see.
I must very nearly see the coat.
Very close to see the
I must see the coat.
I will see the coat.
Is it all a stuff? For us?
Badger,
Me?
wolf, or nothing.
Actually,
Now I recall he said that it was not fair.
but who could ever tell that it was that far?
It wouldn't bother me one bit if it were that fur.
It looks so fine, so snug and
Now what would you say to a glass or two of champagne and khaki? 3 cheers for a khaki!
Huzzah! Huzzah! Huzzah!
What a reception, what a fine day. How can I ever thank them? What can I say? I'm quite contented to watch them play a game I've never played before. As long as smart enough to understand, or fool enough to chance a hand.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, out. Let's play another hand. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, out.
Once more this time you'll see.
After 2 glasses of champagne, and a good deal of awkwardly standing about and not being quite sure what to do with himself, Akaki crept silently from the room. It was already after midnight, and he was keen to avoid being cajoled by the other clerks into staying any longer. To his dismay, in the lobby he found his overcoat in a careless heap on the floor. After meticulously removing every trace of fluff from it, he put it on and walked out into the cold. The streets were still well lit, and some of the alehouses frequented by the servants and the lower classes had not yet shut. The finely coated copying clerk turned home in a cheerful mood and quite lost himself in happy thoughts. All of a sudden, he found himself in the kind of place that would have been poky enough during the middle of the day. And now that it was night time, it looked even more desolate.
Streets are empty, almost lonely, hardly anyone about. Crumbling houses, broken fences, street lamps short of oil, no doubt.
He went on a little way until he came across an enormous square. Something in the pit of his stomach lurched at the sight of the cavernous darkness ahead of him.
Such a vast square, like a desert. I don't like it, I don't like it. Stretching out the dark, unending houses in the distance, not possible to quite make out.
His cheerful mood had now completely deserted him. And in its place there was a dreadful sense of foreboding.
No, that's not to look.
Not suppress a shiver as he walked out into the square with his hands thrust firmly inside his pockets and his eyes tightly shut. After some time, he opened them again to see how far he had come, but instead he saw ahead of him 2 men whose faces were not possible to distinguish. Something tightened in his stomach and his heart constricted inside his chest.
Hey, you! Why, there's my overcoat!
Well, I mean,
Just one squeak out of you and you'll be sorry. death of Akaki Akakevich.
The next day Akaki returned to the department, back wearing his shabby old dressing gown rags. His account of the theft touched many of the clerks, though some still prefer to make jokes and poke fun. We should help Akaki, reach out a hand to Akaki.
He's speaking metaphorically.
We all must have change we could afford to spare, so let's donate it to our friend and show how much we care.
What a wonderful thought. Heartwarming. Really is most kind.
But just last week, we donated for that painting.
A rather drably, uninspired portrait of head of department.
And the week before that, it was that terrible book.
Penned by the brother of the director's wife. More notable for the prevalence of smutty innuendo than any real literary merit. So the sum they raised was really rather paltry.
10,
9,
8, 7, 6.
However, one of the clerks, moved by pity, resolved to help Akaki with some sound advice.
Forget any thought of going to the police, my friend. They most likely wouldn't bother with such a case. And even if they did, they'd just waste your time asking irrelevant questions.
Where did you get such a fine overcoat?
What was you doing in such a neighbourhood and so late at night?
Had you been drinking?
had you been gambling? Had you been visiting a brothel?
No, no. You'd be far better off seeking the help of some very important person who might be moved to take up your cause directly with the authorities.
What exactly this very important person did, what particular position this very important person held, no one could really say, but nonetheless, Akaki Akakevich determined to pay him a visit. He was kept waiting, without even so much as being offered a seat, the whole morning, and not for any particular reason, other than a very important person had an old school friend visiting him, whom he wished to impress with famed visits. By mid-afternoon, conversation between them had all but dried up.
So then,
Yes, yes.
who would have thought it?
Well, I never.
My.
Hmm.
My. Well, I suppose I really ought to go and see this clerk. So then,
Yes, yes.
who would have thought it?
Well, I never.
My.
Hmm.
My. So then, what is your name?
Bashmashkin. Akaki Akakevich Bashmashkin.
I see. And what sort of a name is that?
Well, it means shoe.
Of course it does. Now then, tell me why you here. You have 2 minutes.
But I
2 minutes and not a second more.
Well, it's like this. A theft, a new overcoat, warm, cat fur collar, nothing extravagant but quite expensive.
1 minute and 30 seconds.
Then, coming home, a party, lots of gambling, bored, I don't play, a glass of champagne, quite possibly a second.
60 seconds.
It was past midnight, the streets were empty, I didn't like it, I really didn't like it. I kept my eyes shut, then these two robbers...
Enough! Enough! I've heard enough! Do you know who I am? Have you no idea who I am? Well, I am a very important person. Yes, yes, a very important person. With many important things to do. So why would I waste my time on a very unimportant person like you?
Not important, not just important. A very important person. Not important, not just important. A very important person.
I know many very important people, and even some very, very important people. And once, just once, I met an extremely important person. But I won't say who. So why would I waste my time on a very unimportant person like you?
Not important, not just important.
Don't you know the proper channels? Don't you know what the proper procedure ought to be? It goes from a secretary to a clerk, and then from the clerk to the head clerk.
Or his assistant.
Or his assistant, and then to the section chief. And then, if it's of sufficient import,
By which he means if it's very important.
it goes from him to my personal secretary. Then from my personal secretary, it comes to me. And then, only then, I decide what the proper, very important action must be.
Not important, not just important.
I'm not important. No, I'm not important. And certainly not really quite important. No. I'm very important. Yes, very important. I'm very important, very important, very important. With many, very important things to do. So why would I waste my time? Yes, why would I waste my time? Or why would I waste my time on a very unimportant person like you? Get out! Get out! Get out! I can't remember what your bloody name was. What was it now? Don't tell me. Something like shoe. Out!
Not important, not just important.
Poor Kakakakevich had never in his whole life experienced such an unrelenting verbal assault. He staggered and trembled in every limb, and had the porters not rushed forward to support him, no doubt he would have collapsed on the spot.
Now that is what a proper and necessary dressing down ought to do to a man.
He remembered nothing about going downstairs and out into the street. Outside, a blizzard was raging, with ferocious winds from all four corners of the earth. He dragged himself home, put himself to bed, and broke out, all over in swellings. The next morning his temperature was high. And the St. Petersburg climate made it far worse. A doctor was called, but how can doctors reverse the curse of never having amounted to anything more than
perpetual teacher and counselor. Perpetual teacher and counselor.
He won't last a week and he's not a rich book. I'll order him a coffin made from pine and not oak. I can't
leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Kakiyakakevich goes around town, Martina. No, that's not
What
what
does
it
this
person that no one ever thought of protecting, that was dear to no one, that was of interest to no one. Not even the naturalist, who could not resist sticking a pin into a common fly before eagerly examining it under a microscope. A bleak existence, only punctuated by the jibes of the other clerks in the department, and briefly illuminated, but only at its very close, by the appearance of a shining visitor in the form of an overcoat. A few days later, a messenger was sent by none less than the director himself to demand that Akakiyakakevich return to the department forthwith. But the messenger had to return to the director and sadly announce that Akakiyakakevich would not be coming back to the department anymore.
And why not?
Yes, why not? Yes,
Why not?
Because he's dead. Has been these past 4 days.
The very next day, a new clerk arrived, much taller and smarter, but his copying far less precise.
F-O-R-I-N-C-R-E-A-S-E-D C-O-M-F-O-R-T-A-N-T-T-U-R-A.
And so concludes the story of...
Wait!
Thus would have concluded the story.
Why did not for a somewhat unexpected epilogue?
A somewhat unexpected epilogue.
Huzzah! Huzzah! Previously somewhat unexpected, the by now no doubt most eagerly anticipated men belong to
The Overcoat.
A few days later, rumours of the most fantastical kind started to circulate concerning a ghost in the form of a government clerk spotted near the Callan Bridge. According to the various reports, the ghost seemed to be searching for a lost overcoat, and to this end, he occupied his post-material existence by ripping such garments from the shoulders of many an unfortunate victim.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone. What do you want? What do you want? Why do you oppose me?
No attention was paid to rank or title, and the particular attributes of the overcoats themselves were chosen with the same apparent disinterest.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
What do you want? What do you want? Why do you oppose me?
One of the clerks from the department saw the spectre with his own eyes and immediately recognised him as none other than
Akaki, Akaki.
Complaints poured in from all quarters, and the police were instructed to run the ghost in, although their efforts were not rewarded with success.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
What do you want? What do you want? Why do you oppose me? My coat, my coat, my coat, my coat, my coat. Here then, take it.
And what of our very important person, for surely he has not been forgotten. After the rather abrupt eviction of Akaki Akakeyevich from his office, it would not be overstating things to say that he experienced some twinges of regret.
I am a very important person. But as a very important person, perhaps I was a little hard on him, sharp with him. Perhaps I should have tried to help Akaki Akakeyevich. But it's never too late. I can still make amends by sending a message offering to speak to some very important friends.
Not important, not just important.
But the messenger returned with message still in hand, for a reason which at first he couldn't quite understand.
But why not? Say why not? Tell me why ever not?
Because he's dead. Has been these past 7 days.
What have I done? Or more accurately, what have I not done? Why did I berate him, bully and belittle him, or little him for overall?
Not on. Was I not his brother? Is there not a common blood that flows through the sacred veins of all humanity?
Feeling that some light entertainment might be what was necessary to distract him from his troubling thoughts, that evening he went to a party, thankfully populated by an appropriately respectable crowd.
We are a very important people, with no one just important here, and certainly not anyone unimportant.
Except Eric.
Ah, yes, Eric.
He departed in much better spirits, and fueled by more than a couple of glasses of champagne, he chuckled to himself, recalling some of the wittier things he had said that evening.
Except Eric.
Suddenly, he felt a violent tug at his collar, causing him to swing around.
Should cottage, pockmarked with grey hair thinning, and skin complexion you typically find in those unfortunates who suffer from
I found you! And like a day of bitch! Yes, yes, I've got you now, you son! That friend of mine! It's your overcoat that all this ruckus is about! I came to you for help! But now you can't look down to me! Give me your over! I got you, I got you, bitch, I got you, I got you, bitch, I got you, I got your overcoat!
The encounter had the most profound effect upon him. From that day forward, you would seldom hear him say,
"Do you know who I am?"
And even more infrequently would he utter,
"Have you no idea who I am?"
Instead, he was far more commonly heard to say things like,
"I'm not a very important person." Not such a very important person. But maybe just important enough that it might be possible for me to help you. Eric, I'm sorry.
And as for the ghostly clerk, he disappeared completely, never to be seen again. And all across St. Petersburg, people breathed a sigh of relief, comforted by the knowledge that once again their overcoats rested